Hello, my dear students. Today we will talk about simple interest. Let's start with the story of the day. Amanda deposited 20,000 pesos in her savings account. If her bank pays 0.05% simple annual interest rate, how much is her interest after 5 years? In this problem, we're asked to find for the interest given that Amanda deposited 20,000 pesos and the bank pays her 0.05% interest. Now, before we answer this problem, let us first understand the key concepts pertaining to simple interest. First, what is a simple interest? And it is an interest that pertains to the amount earned or paid for the used money, paid or earned only on the principal. Now, for us to solve for simple interest, we just simply multiply the principal times the rate times time. Now, what is a principal? Principal is the amount of money deposited or borrowed. So when you deposit the money in a bank, you expect that your money will earn some years after. And what you call that earning is the simple interest. Now, if you borrowed or loaned money from a bank, then interest rate will be an additional amount you have to pay for borrowing such amount. So again, if you deposit money in the bank, you will earn an interest after some years. But if you borrow money from a bank, you will have to pay for an additional amount for borrowing that money. Now we also have the so-called amount balance. Amount balance is the sum of the interest and principal. So let's go back to our story problem. Amanda deposited 20,000 pesos in her savings account. If her bank pays 0.05% simple annual interest rate, how much is her interest after 5 years? Okay. So again, for us to solve for interest, we will simply use our formula, which is principal times rate times time. Since Amanda deposited 20,000 pesos, this will be our principal because this is the initial amount or the total amount she deposited in the bank. Then the interest rate is given as 0.05%, which is 0.0005 in decimals. Then we are asked to look for her interest after 5 years, so our time is 5. So for our equation, we will have 20,000 times 0.0005 times 5 equals n. By the way, when you say simple annual interest, it means that this interest rate will be given every year, okay, yearly, because it's annual. Now let us solve. Let us multiply first 20,000 and 0.0005. 5 times zeros is 0, so we'll just copy those zeros. Then 5 times 2 is 10. Since the other digits to the left of 5 are zeros, there's no need for us to multiply them anymore because it will just give us 0. Now let us count the number of decimal places in our factors. In 20,000, there's no decimal place, so let's count here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. That means we should also have 4 decimal places in our product. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have 10 pesos. Okay, so this is just 10 pesos. And this is her interest in 1 year. But we are asked to find for her interest after 5 years. So we still need to multiply this 10 pesos to our time, which is 5. So let us multiply. We have 10 times 5, that is 50. Therefore, Amanda's interest after 5 years is 50,000 pesos if she deposited 20,000 pesos in her savings account. Now let's try some more examples. Arthur's employer lent him 5,000 pesos so he can pay his bills. He charges Arthur 5% simple interest rate. How much interest will Arthur pay his employer in 1 year? So again, we are asked to look for interest. Therefore, we will use our formula. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. So for our equation, we will have 5,000, which is the principal because this is the amount of money that Arthur borrowed from his employer. Then we'll have 0.05 because the interest for borrowing that money is 5% per year. Then our time is 1 year because we will look for the interest only for 1 year. So let us solve. 5,000 times 0.05. 5 times zeros will give us 0. So let's just copy those zeros. 5 times 5 is 25. The rest of the digits to the left are 0, so there's no need for us to multiply them anymore. Now let's count the number of decimal places. We only have 2 decimal places in our factor, so in our product, we should also have 2 decimal places. So that means we have 250 pesos, and this will be the interest for 1 year. Even if we multiply it to 1, still that will give us 250. Okay? Therefore, Arthur will pay his employer an interest of 250 pesos. Again, this is just the interest, so this is an additional payment that Arthur needs to pay to his employer. It doesn't mean that this is the total amount that he will pay because, again, he borrowed 5,000 pesos, so he should also return it to his employer. Now let's have problem number 3. Mother deposited 25,000 pesos in a savings account that earns 2% interest. How much will she earn in 3 years? Then, how much will her amount balance be after 3 years? So let us first answer the first question. We're asked to find how much will she earn. Remember, if you deposit some money in a savings account, what you will earn is the interest. Okay, so that means for us to solve for the first question, we have to find for the interest. And for us to do that, we will use the equation 25,000 because this is the initial amount that mother deposited in the bank times 0.02 because of the 2% annual interest times 3 because this is what we should look for, the interest after 3 years. So let us solve. We'll have 25,000 times 0.02. 2 times zeros will give us zeros. 2 times 5 is 10. And 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1, that's 5. Again, the rest of the digits to the left are zeros, so we can stop multiplying here. Now let us count the number of decimal places. We have 1 and 2. So in our product, we should also have 2 decimal places. So that means 500 pesos is the interest per year. Again, this is the interest only for 1 year. Now, we have to still multiply it by 3 to get the interest in 3 years. So we have 500 times 3. We have 0, 0, and 15. Therefore, mother will earn 1,500 pesos after 3 years. Now, let's answer the second question, which is how much will her amount balance be after 3 years? Remember, when you say amount balance, it is just the sum of the interest and the initial or principal money. Since mother deposited 25,000 pesos, that will be our principal. And as we solved earlier, the interest is 1,500 in 3 years. So all we need to do is to add these two to get the amount balance. And that will be 25,000 plus 1,500. It will give us 26,500. So mother's amount balance after 3 years is 26,500 pesos. This is now her total money in the bank after 3 years. Let's have our last example. Layla deposited 20,000 pesos in a bank which offers a 2.5% interest rate. How much is her interest after 18 months? So we have here 20,000 is the initial amount or the principal. Then the interest per year is 2.5%. We are asked to look for the interest after 18 months. Since the interest the interest rate is given yearly, that means our time should be expressed in years as well. So we need to know how many years there are in 18 months. Therefore, we will divide 18 by 12 because there are 12 months in 1 year. And 18 divided by 12 will give us 1 with a remainder of 6. So we'll have 1 and 6 twelfths. Okay. We can express 6 twelfths into decimal by dividing 6 and 12, and that will be equal to 0.5 because 6 over 12 is 1/2. So our time will be 1.5. And for our equation, we will have 20,000 times 0.025 times 1.5 equals n. Now let us solve. We have 20,000 times 0.025. Okay, 5 times zeros will give us zeros. 5 times 2 is 10. Then we have 2 here, so we need to multiply to 20,000, and that will be 0, 0, 0, 0, and 4. Since the rest of the digits to the left are zeros, we can stop multiplying here. Let's add our partial products. Okay. So we have 500,000, but let us not forget that we have here decimal places in our factors. Let us count the number of decimal places. That is 3. So in our answer, we should also have 3 decimal places. Okay, so we have 500 pesos is the interest for 1 year, but we need to know the interest for 1.5 years. So we still need to multiply 500 by 1.5. We have 0, 0, then 25. We have 0, 0, and 5. Then let's add. We have here 7,500. But one of our factors has 1 decimal place, so in our product we should also have 1 decimal place. Therefore, Layla will have 750 pesos interest in her savings account after 1.5 years if she deposited 20,000 pesos in a bank. So that's it for our lesson for today. Thank you for listening.